Meine sehr geehrten Damen und Herren, ich freue mich sehr, Sie heute Mittag zu dieser ganz besonderen Veranstaltung bei Microsoft Berlin begrüßen zu dürfen. Wir haben Sie heute zu uns eingeladen, da wir uns auf die exklusive Buchvorstellung des Buches von Brad Smith, dem President der Microsoft Corporation, The Tools and Weapons, gefreut haben. Und dieses Buch hat er gemeinsam mit Browne geschrieben, die ich beide herzlich begrüßen möchte, sitzen bei uns hier in der ersten Reihe.
Er sagt, es muss jetzt etwas passieren, die Zeit drängt. Darüber werde ich heute persönlich mit ihm sprechen, über dieses Buch, damit Sie auch einen Eindruck von diesem Buch bekommen und eine richtige Erwartungshaltung haben. Wir haben dazu eine Keynote-Speakerin hier, die von Haus aus Juristin ist, also wie Brad Smith, Juristin. Sie hat in Bonn und Harvard studiert. 20. Applaus, den Sie jetzt können. Senior Fellow on Foreign Policy at Brookings Institution, Dr. Konstanze Stelzenmüller.
Thank you so much for asking me to speak here today. I want to say in the spirit of transparency and full disclosure that Microsoft is a funder of Brookings Institution's work on AI. I myself work in the Center on the US and Europe, and I'm also really quite well known for not being an expert on digital policy. But we also know, all of us Germans and Europeans sitting in this room and our American friends know just how divided we still are in Europe, despite these recognition of the time that we are in. We are divided on migration, on the post-Brexit EU budget, on Eurozone management, external threats, and even internal threats to democracy within Europe. And nowhere are those divisions more evident than on the question of how to deal with Trump's America.
So, meine Damen und Herren, ladies and gentlemen, now the man of the match who will give us a short introduction to his book now, Tools and Weapons, Digitalisierung am Scheideweg. Please give a warm welcome to the President of Microsoft, Brad Smith.
Well, thank you. First, I want to say thank you for coming and joining us. And I thought I would build on what you just heard and perhaps provide a bit of a transition in the process to some of the issues in the world of technology. I so appreciate the opportunity to be back in this room. It was here in Berlin that when the first African American had the opportunity to be elected president and wanted in the course of his presidential campaign in 2008 to make the case to the American people that he could be a statesman for the world, that he came and spoke to the German people. Look at the world of technology and all the opportunities it has created. You would think that we should be living in a time of unbridled optimism. But instead, in fact, we live in a new age of anxiety. Here in Berlin, in Germany, across Europe, around the world, people are asking themselves important questions. What is technology doing to my job? What kind of future will my children have? What kind of technology are we creating? Will we, in fact, even be able to control it? And the fundamental question for us everywhere, and perhaps in Berlin as much as anywhere, is what kind of future do we want to build? But digital technology has also created the challenges of our time. It has created issues around privacy and its erosion. It has created challenges around cybersecurity. It is creating new questions for the ethics of machines that will be empowered to make decisions that previously could only be made by people. We have to embrace the future with a greater sense of responsibility across the tech sector. Here in Germany, consider the automobile industry. Consider for all of us the aircraft industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry. These are wonderful markets. They all are regulated to some degree. If you drive home this evening, you will drive home with more confidence in the safety of your car because there are safety standards for it. If you get on the airplane, you will have more confidence in your flight because there are regulators who govern the aircraft. If you go to the grocery store or you stop at the pharmacy, you probably won't even worry about the safety of what you are buying because we have confidence that regulators get up every morning and worry for us. Similarly, we're going to need more of this kind of approach for digital technology. And if we look at where there is the one space that regulation has started to take hold, I would point out that it is in the field of privacy. And I would add that its epicenter is and always has been Browne. And that we find a way to work together. Because I think the only thing that would be worse is if we fail to do so. Thank you very much.
And the book is written in a quite entertaining way. Even though. Thank you for that.
Well, let me be the German version. You know,
To whom is the book addressed? I had the impression that you wanted to reach a wider audience.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah. No, first of all, a lot of the credit for the entertaining aspects of the book may be attributable to Carol Ann Browne, who's here as well. And, you know, we really worked on this together. And one of the things we did ask ourselves, which I think everybody probably does or should when they're writing a book, is who are we writing this for? And we just feel that these issues are too broad and too important to be left to a narrow audience to think about it. And so we really wrote it, we hope, for people who are curious, who want to engage in the issues of the day, think about the future for their communities and for their families. But when you're creating technology that can be used in good ways or bad, you actually have to learn to think differently. You have to ask yourself, for something like facial recognition, where is this use sensitive? Where could its application be harmful? And where do you have to develop the self-discipline and business process to say no to a customer who wants to give you money to buy your product? It's a very unnatural act, in truth. And therefore you have to change. And yeah, I think what impresses me is the number of really good, high-integrity people across our industry, I think across almost every industry. But what we have to change is thinking and we encourage people to start to exercise more discipline and, I'll just say, self-restraint. And ultimately, it's why we do need regulation as well.
In the chapter on ethics, you talk about meeting Pope Francis in Vatican, in Rome, 2 years ago in February. I'm asking you to break the confessional secret, would never happen in Germany, but what do you recall of that day?
Well, I actually recall a couple things. Let me write about it, as you know.
Yes, I know, but they don't know.
I'll share two stories. The first is still a really profound impact on me, on the two of us who wrote this book, and I think on others of us who had the opportunity to think more about it. We had the opportunity to go to a private room to see two books that people don't have the opportunity to see. The first was an original Gutenberg Bible. The year 1450 was when it was printed.
The original one.
Yeah, it was the 24th Gutenberg Bible ever printed. And yeah, the real lesson of the moment for that day and for me and for us was this was a story of technology, the printing press, changing the course of religion. Because of course what the Gutenberg Bible did is it made it possible for people to read the Bible and not just have it read to them by someone in a church. And then we saw a second volume, and it was even more impactful to me. It was written 150 years later. It was a volume of all of the letters, original letters, that Galileo wrote to the Pope just after the year 1600 to make the case for his innocence. And it was written in Italian, and I couldn't read the words, but as you went through the pages, one of the things that it revealed was that every day Galileo had taken his telescope and drawn the position of the sunspots on the sun. And so as you flip through the pages, what you easily saw was that he documented that the sunspots were moving, and hence the sun was rotating. But unlike the Gutenberg Bible, where basically technology had spread religion, Galileo's story was a story of science and technology colliding with it. And the fundamental reason that we had the chance to look at both of these really goes to artificial intelligence, AI. AI will have this same connection. It will intersect with all of the ethical principles important in the history of humanity. Will it strengthen ethics? Will it collide with it? That is the question before us. And after we solve this, we have the opportunity to meet and talk with Pope Francis.
And is he a techie?
He has a very widely read Twitter account.
Oh, yeah. Run by himself?
I would say that the most interesting thing to me was I gained an appreciation that the two of us have very different jobs. His is more important than mine. Because, my job as part of a tech company is to bring technology to humanity. His job was to remind us to bring humanity into technology. And I think that's the message that we all need to really think about. And, we had a wonderful conversation, and I was so struck at the end, and this story which you shared in that chapter, is as I was leaving, he sort of shook my hand and gripped my wrist with his other hand. And he said, "Keep your humanity." I think that's a fundamental message to everyone who works in the tech sector and everyone alive today, because let's face it, we are the first generation of people that will give machines the power to make decisions that have always been made only by people. So we better keep our humanity and somehow find a way to ensure that the best of it is reflected in what these machines do.
Okay.